All right there, ladies and gentlemen, it's Nate here, and wow, strap in, get ready for a full week of shows here on the Vinyl Guide podcast. We are celebrating the Live in the Mojave Desert concert and vinyl series with episodes all week featuring the amazing bands that were part of that ambitious and brilliantly awesome project, including Nebula, Stoner, Mountain Tamer, Spirit Mother, and of course the almighty Earthless, from whom we'll hear from today. Mario Rubalcaba, drummer of Earthless and renowned record collector himself, will be talking about both those things, records, Earthless, and more. And of course you can order the double LP Earthless Live in the Mojave Desert Volume 1 at liveinthemojavedesert.com or at Heavy Psych Sounds. There's limited pressings, there's colorful killer vinyl variants, there's even some test pressings, I believe, as well as some Blu-rays of the video of this concert. So that's liveinthemojavedesert.com. Grab some vinyl from Earthless and all the others. And for those of you unfamiliar with the Live in the Mojave Desert concert series, this was a live stream concert series put on at the peak of COVID times in 2020. The producers wanted to do something amazing for those of us caught up on the couch during the middle of the pandemic, and they ended up producing 5 concerts in the middle of the Mojave Desert, no audience, just the bands with an amazing light show and a full camera crew. Kind of like a modern day Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii, which was live streamed at the time, but now available on vinyl and Blu-ray video. Go to liveinthemojavedesert.com or heavypsychsounds.com and fill up your shopping cart with a bunch of vinyl and videos. And just for our amazing super special patreon.com/vinyl guide community, we have added an additional episode up there. A secret episode, if you will. And that is only available to the patreon.com/vinyl guide community. Head up there, sign up now, help support our show, and enjoy the extras. All right, so let's do it up. Mario, Earthless, Mojave Desert, let's go.
Hello,
Mr. Mario.
What's up, Nate?
How are you?
Good, man. Sorry, it took me a minute to kind of figure this Zoom thing out. I've only done it a couple times, but doing well.
You've only done Zoom a couple times. My God, we've gone through a whole pandemic, and
I know,
you still haven't worked it out.
Somehow I've escaped the Zoom madness.
Ladies and gentlemen, we found the only man in the world who is unfamiliar with Zoom. Let me ask you this. What was the plan for 2020 before COVID hit?
You know, I'm thinking back, the plan was to definitely write a new record, do some touring, but lighten up on some of the touring as Earthless was pretty busy for the last, 2-3 years. Even before like doing the Black Heaven record, we were touring pretty often. But after Black Heaven came out, we were like fairly busy, I would say, for, the better part of 2 years. Mm-hmm. Add to that for my personal schedule, also mixing in a couple other bands and stuff as well in between. So, I wanted to take a little bit of time off just to be with family and stuff. At the time I had a newborn daughter. So, I wanted to take some time off again, but I wasn't thinking the whole.
You got your wish.
Dang year, man. Yeah, it's like, here you go. So I went from full-time rocker to just full-time dad life, Mm-hmm. So that was a pretty big change. It was great, but at the same time, it was also kind of terrifying, just not knowing, like, okay, like, hopefully this thing lasts maybe 6 months or a year tops, but here we are,
Yeah, and there was a couple of months where it was probably pretty terrifying in Southern California.
For sure. Yeah. And it seemed like it was getting worse too, because at first it seemed like we were really proactive in trying to, take the measures in place to make sure things could just, get back to some kind of normalcy. But it just seemed like it spun out of control over here in our state. And then as of recently, it just seems like it's actually been really, really getting somewhere, at least according to the reports and the news and stuff. So that's good. Yeah.
Now, what did you do to take advantage of your time off? Obviously, you spent time with your newborn daughter. You had some family time. What music activities did you get up to in the last year?
Oddly enough, the first day of lockdown here in San Diego or in California, Isaiah moved back down to San Diego. Like he literally got in town the night of the lockdown. So he's been here in San Diego, and we've all been practicing for this last, little over a year, and getting together once or twice a week, and we just started writing and jamming and for a new record, and we just are about to finish or just finished this new album. So that's what we've been working on. Other than that, I've been buying records that I can't afford and and messing around with like stereo gear that's just in my garage that I've had just to not be bored. In the nighttime. But yeah,
that was one of the bonus upsides. I did get to spend a lot of time with the record collection the last year and dig through some of those titles that I normally wouldn't have spent as much time on.
Yeah, definitely.
So let me ask you this: is Mike in San Diego as well?
Yeah. So we've always been San Diego, but for the last almost a better part of 10 years, Isaiah was up in Northern California.
So I'm going to read this as a really good sign, because Earthless albums used to be about once every 5 years. And now you guys are in the same city. I'm going to assume that that's now going to accelerate the cycle to perhaps half of that. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think we were trying to beat the 5-year cycle, which I think we will technically. But this record came together really, really organically, and just we were all pretty sparked creatively. I'm really, really happy with it. It's been a cool thing, and we just recorded it here in our hometown. So that's something we haven't done since the first album. So it was fun.
Now, do you have a title for the new record?
Still kind of juggling that stuff around. That's always the last thing to kind of come about, is like the song titles. But we have a couple things, that we usually just kind of toss around really odd names for the jams, but then they end up being something totally different at the end. So but Mike is working on the artwork this time, so it will probably come about a lot faster than usual, as opposed to having someone else do the art.
So when will we hear more about this album?
Well, we are trying to wrap everything up by the middle of this month. So we'll probably have some more information, mid-month or maybe a little bit after. It just depends on, stuff. So, but trying to make it happen ASAP.
So I think I'm a little bit early in this interview then to if this was a few weeks from now, we'd probably have some more information. Give me a nugget. Give me a world exclusive. Is it a single album, double album? Tell me something. Tell me something I don't know about it.
It's just going to be a journey. It's going to be a real interesting journey for everyone.
Boy, so you've taken media training. Done. You are a steel trap. I can't get anything out of you. Got to waterboard you to get a freaking exclusive. No. So let me ask you this: on the new Live in the Mojave Desert set, there's a track "Lost in the Cold Sun." Is that a track from the upcoming album?
No, that is actually one of our oldest songs. It is on the first album called Sonic Prayer, and it is side 2, but we might have played the song once in the history of the band, possibly, and it was like very early on, but in YouTube land it's pretty popular, I guess. But we've always gotten asked to play this song live for some reason in Europe a lot, and we just never really took the time to revisit it, because it's really kind of doomier and slow, and kind of just it needs a certain mindset to be in to play it right. But then once these kind of live stream things started happening, we're like, oh, we should revisit that and see if we can get it going again. And then it started feeling pretty good after a couple tries.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we did it for the desert, and I think we did it for another Casbah thing that we did, like a live stream. So it was pretty fun.
Nice. So when this Live in the Mojave Desert opportunity came up, what led you to the point to where you were playing in the desert in front of all these cameras and no people?
Well, our buddy Ryan Jones, who he has organized in the past few years this thing called Stoned and Dusted. Mm-hmm. A lot of them were going on at in Pioneer Town at Pappy and Harriet's and stuff. So there was like an outside stage and an indoor stage, and just kind of, a cool little fest where all the doomy stoner rock bands would play. And we did one of those a few years back. And then he started this little project up for this pandemic idea about doing this video and record album series of like a handful of bands. And I think we were one of the first ones he asked. So I didn't really know what to expect going out there. I didn't know it was going to be as elaborate as it was with the camera crew. And we just knew that Lance from the Mad Alchemist was going to be doing the visuals, and that was going to be really cool in itself. But man, he had this full on camera crew and drones flying over the top of us, and just a full idea of like, we'll do some songs in the daytime, another little set towards the evening, like when it starts to get dark, and then we'll do a nighttime set. So he really had a vision for how he wanted to present, this thing and stuff. So went over really well, I thought.
So did you guys do 3 different sets? Day, dusk, and evening?
Yeah. So day, dusk, and then nighttime.
And in terms of playing in the desert, like Brant and those guys, I mean, they come from playing in the desert. It's, just kind of what they do. Is playing in the desert comfortable for you? I mean, have you done that enough to where you're fine with it, or does it still have a lot of complexities that can be a little frustrating?
I've done it a few times throughout the years, nowhere near as much as like Brant and Mario and those other guys. But, you just don't know what you're going to get sometimes. I mean, obviously, I think we recorded in October, so we didn't think it was going to be super hot, but you never know, I'm trying to think. I didn't think it was going to be as windy as it was. It was so windy. And everyone had all the weights to hold down their tents and their equipment and stuff, and they had run out. So I was literally, and I have pictures of it, I was literally finding granite boulders to put on my cymbal stands and because they were blowing over. So I was like, I didn't want to get my head sliced in quarters from the wind while I was playing Lost in the Cold Sun. but yeah, so just little things like that, the wind, and at nighttime it gets a little chilly, but it didn't rain. It was a really nice day, and it was fun. The wind does mess with the sound a little bit, so you have to kind of they had to kind of figure a couple of things out with some mics and stuff like that, but overall it came out pretty well, the recording, I thought.
Okay. Were you like dumping sand out of your drums for weeks afterward and that sort of thing?
That wasn't too bad, fortunately. No.
Okay. All right. I guess I'd be worried if I was a drummer, and again, I'm not a drummer, but I'd think, okay, like sand inside the bass drum pedal, like just kind of grinding in there, or just kind of throwing off the timing a bit. That's not a problem at all.
No, at least not this time. It wasn't that bad, but yeah, the cymbals were definitely swaying around and stuff.
And you guys could hear each other pretty well because it's open outdoor environment. You guys were okay because you guys seem to have a bit of a telekinesis anyway. Look, I've seen Earthless. It's almost like a religious experience. Is it the same for you? I mean, like when you're in the mode, do you kind of get lost in that?
Yeah, and we've been doing it almost 20 years now, and I'm happy to say that I get the same feeling from it. And every show's different. Some are more motivated than others, but I always go into it with a certain gratitude of being able to do this with these guys and having this connection that we do, this chemistry, because I've played in a lot of bands, and this is just something that's so unique from any other band that I play in or have played in. So it's special. I can't ever not see us doing this band, whether we're in other bands or not, which has been the case throughout our history. From time to time, I've played in other bands and done those things for a bit, and so has Isaiah. And so, but we always come back and have fun playing together.
I would imagine it's almost like a brotherly telekinesis that you guys have on stage. I mean, do you even need to make eye contact now to kind of know where Mike or Isaiah are going?
Both yes and no. Well, definitely a brotherly kinesis and chemistry. Eye contact is definitely a big part of it, though, because a lot of times, Isaiah's solos are different every time, or I'll take the music in a different direction for a bit. So a lot of it kind of relies on the cues or listening cues as well, but then also the eye contact of when we're going to go into something out of something that has never been done before. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And Mike he's really good at like holding it all down.
So when you guys go into doing a live set, like you have a conversation about what you're going to play at this, Live in the Mojave Desert set. You say, okay, we're going to do Lost in the Cold Sun, a couple other tracks. I would imagine you guys just have a rough outline of like the beginning and the end, almost like the sandwich. You guys know what the bread's going to be like. You know what you're going to start with and roughly how it's going to end. But in the middle, is it just you leave tons of room for improvisation, lots of surprises, or is there a little bit more structure than there seems?
I would say that's pretty much, that sounds about right. And, there is lots of structure around the beginning and ends. In between these little parts of structure, there's tons of room for improvising and really taking it out further or holding it back. There's, in the early days, there was 100% improvisation as well, but mainly we have a pretty structured way of doing things, and we just kind of take the improvised parts, as it comes. But still, there's times where, like on tour or something like that, like a solo will maybe be 5 minutes, and then the next night it can go on for 20 minutes. And then also including it in that is like some wild drum, not a drum solo, but like the way I'll shape things to open up for Isaiah to do something can make it go an extra amount of time, like where I'll be the one in control for a bit, or Isaiah can be the one in control and I'll take his cue when I hear the solo kind of like finishing.
In the set Live in the Mojave Desert, you've essentially got 3 songs: Violence at the Red Sea, Sonic Prayer, and Lost in the Cold Sun. Did you do that set 3 times?
Not each song 3 times. I think we did, we might have did a couple takes of Violence in the Red Sea, possibly, but more so just for like a recording standpoint. But I'm pretty sure Lost in the Cold Sun was just 1 take. And then that was probably the one that had a little bit more of jamming in the end. Whereas like Violence is pretty structured as a whole, at least in my opinion it is. And then same with the other song that we did.
So I haven't got my vinyl yet. This is probably a good time to let people know they could pick up a copy of Live in the Mojave Desert, a new live Earthless set at Heavy Psych Sounds, and of course live in the mojavedesert.com. It's a double album, so there are 3 songs across 4 sides. Is it 4 full sides, or is there an etching? Okay, wow.
Yep. Yeah, it's a stuffer.
So Lost in the Cold Sun, you got like a 40-something minute version of that. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Lost in the Cold Sun, I believe, is both side C and D.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. I can't wait to get mine. So look, I'm very excited about getting my copy of Live in the Mojave Desert and the new album, whenever that may be. Let's talk records. You seem to suffer from the same sickness that many of us do. Can you describe your record collection to folks who may not follow you on Instagram?
It's eclectic, but I wouldn't say it's like that eclectic. I'm basically very, very into the classic rock stuff, the heavy rock, psychedelic kind of side of things, but I'm also very into a lot of obscure punk bands and a lot of really raw, obscure 60s garage kind of stuff. The nugget stuff, but even deeper, but then I love the krautrock stuff, and I love Japanese psych rock, and I've loved jazz for a long time as well, but I kind of like left the jazz playing for a few years, and then every couple of years or 3 years you get a little buzz back into things, and then just this last year the jazz thing hit me again really hard, just because there were so many good quality reissues coming out. So that's kind of been what I've really been into for the last year, along with some of the classics. And
do you have a holy grail that you're chasing out there?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think here real quick. As far as like rare, like original pressings, I'm not chasing it super, super hard, but if I found, a really nice copy of A Love Supreme by Coltrane, that would be cool. That's something I just keep my eye out, but they're so expensive. It's like, I'm kind of just like, oh, I don't know, Mm-hmm. And then the recent Acoustic Sounds reissue just came out, and that sounds great. So I'm kind of like, oh, this sounds really good.
It's kind of hard to convince yourself to chase those old versions, those original versions, when you have like the Acoustic Sounds versions or the Tone Poet Blue Notes coming out.
Yeah,
I had an original copy of Lee Morgan, The Cooker. It's a $1,000 record, and they came out with the Tone Poet version, and I literally put them both. I recorded them both and looked at them in the spectrogram and inside my audio programs. I A/B'd them. I flipped them back and forth. It was really hard to tell the difference. And so it's like, look, I got to go with the Tone Poet. I mean, because it's a fifth of the cost.
Right. No, totally. And there's a cool thing that I never even really knew about. Some of the remastering that I guess it's Kevin Gray's been doing. It's like there's like a frequency thing on the older original pressings. They were saying that, for the systems back then, they would cut out like a certain frequency in the bass so that it wasn't too overpowering on the systems or the cheaper turntables back then. And so like he has somehow been not adding like bass to the mix, but they're like a bass frequency that's like, a little bit more natural in these reissues. So it's for now in stereos being as nice as they are, or, it's like, it just sounds a little bit fuller, I guess. But, they sound really good to me. And they're loud, and they're just spread out and wide, and just it's awesome.
We'll be back after these messages.
Hey everyone, I gotta tell you about the Groove Washer, a record cleaner I use every day, and I've used it for years with nothing but excellent results. Not all record cleaners are equal, and not all of them are proved safely tested long-term for record storage. I mean, God forbid you get one of those cheap no-name brand record cleaners only to find out 5 years later that it slowly ruined your vinyl collection. Get a Groove Washer, ask for it by name at your local record shop, or go to groovewasher.com and use discount code VinylGuide10 at checkout. That's the Groove Washer record cleaner, groovewasher.com, promo code VinylGuide10. Now, we're also brought to you today by AudiophileuSA.com, the used record shop that only sells excellent and near-mint vinyl records. With over 42,000 titles in stock, AudiophileuSA.com ships anywhere in the world. No need to guess the condition of anything at AudiophileuSA.com. All the records look pretty goddamn new and gorgeous, even if they have sat in storage for a few decades. Head up there now, AudiophileuSA.com, search by genre, label, artist, dig deep and find the deals. Get a box of goodies today from AudiophileuSA.com, home of the Holy Grails.
Now we return to the program already in progress.
No limits.
Let me ask you this: whenever you get, whenever Earthless makes a record, do the test pressings come to you? Are you the most discerning one? Are you a pain in the ass when it comes to listening to the test pressings and critiquing them?
I'm not a pain in the ass unless they sound like shit. We've been pretty lucky so far. I mean, the test pressings come to me because I'm a pretty deep listener when it comes to that. The other guys are as well, but I'm just a little bit more stickler about it. But thankfully, we've had really good luck in that field so far. I'm recalling back a long time ago for Hot Snakes, we had test pressings for Audit in Progress when that came out, and that was like 2004. And those things were horrible. Like I don't know what they were doing, but there was like crackles and it sounded like someone put like peppercorns in there. It was just the roughest test press I've ever had. We've never had to send it back to a test press before.
Yeah, I could just imagine you like, okay, the test pressings are coming, and everyone puts their head in their hands, and you get on your glasses, and okay, let's. It's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
So you're looking for some of the jazz classics. Those are your holy grails. Do you have like a vinyl budget? Like, do you have a certain level that if you start to go over, you and your wife have to have a pretty stern talk?
Oh, we've had some stern talks for sure. Oh yeah. I went over that budget a long time ago.
Like when something comes out like a new box set, it's like, okay, is this, I'm gonna need to figure out a way to sneak this past.
I've actually gotten really good though at letting go of some stuff.
Okay.
So I've been I pull out stuff from the actual shelves in my room or whatever, and then I'll just stick them in the garage and kind of go through. And I got a few boxes of stuff that I'll get rid of and kind of pull from that side of things to make up for buying. But that's we do what we got to do. It's like I've gotten better at, like, if I'm not listening, if I haven't listened to this in years, then I'll let it go. You know what I mean? Like I've gotten way less attached to just physically holding on to something that I'm just not listening to, which I used to be the exact opposite. I was just like kept adding on, and it just got out of hand,
Yeah, I've recently started doing that as well, and really revisiting that whole completist attitude. Like I like Black Sabbath, but do I really need a copy of The Eternal Idol? Probably not. I'm not listening to it. Let me just focus on the ones that I like, because at the end of the day, life's too short. The end is closer than the beginning now, and so I know I need to be wary of the time that I spend and that I'm listening to what I want to listen to.
Totally. And as I say to you, I'm getting so much better at letting go of things that I've held on to. I'm looking at 8 different copies of Led Zeppelin 2. Yep. So I'm like, what the hell, man? But to my credit, a few of these are the Robert Ludwig pressings.
Yeah.
One is a Mobile Fidelity, and then I don't have the classic records version of 2, which is the only one I'm missing. But if you have a Ludwig, you don't really need the classic one as bad.
That's right.
If I find one for cheap, I'll get it, but I'm not going to pay what they're costing these days.
I'm going to give a pass on Led Zeppelin 2. That's such a great album. And
yeah.
and the story, especially Ludwig, and then you need the Ludwig, and then you need like a George Piros to compare it to,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to do that. So yeah, that's fine. That's
So,
not a problem.
Yeah. So at least though that stack of two Led Zeppelin twos, I am going to listen to and nerd out on that stack. Whereas opposed to like, like you said, maybe Black Sabbath, Eternal Idol, I'm not going to really touch. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if I wanted to hear it that one time out of the year, you can thankfully look it up online and listen to it.
Yeah.
So,
hear what you're missing, and a lot of times I really don't miss it that much. It's like, yeah, okay,
right.
All right.
Yeah.
I've touched that nerve that So,
yeah.
But with Led Zeppelin 2, I mean, because this is a topic I absolutely love talking about, Led Zeppelin 2. Each version sounds so different. The one thing that I've stopped doing, I never really started, but I certainly don't do it now. I'm very aware of it, is collecting records because the labels are slightly different. It's the same pressing. However, this label has a different font, and this one actually says USA with periods rather than USA without. It's going that deep. I know Henry does that a lot, and it's like, okay, I that's not something that I understand. You don't have children. You could do that. I need to. I need to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, same here for sure.
So, are you getting into this recent box set frenzy?
Yeah, I would say yes for the most part, but it always depends on a few things. I did get the Sabbath Volume 4 Super Deluxe, and I love it. I think it was well worth the money. I think it sounds amazing. The booklet that came with it, it's killer. I missed out on the Paranoid one when it came out, so I still need to get that. I want to get it, especially with the live stuff. So I'm looking for that one still eventually, but I'll score it. And then I do want to get the one that they just announced as well, the Sabotage one.
So I went Volume 4. I was completely blown away by it. The sound of it. That's now my default Volume 4. I've got the original Vertigo Swirl, and this one in the box set, to my ears and on my system, sounds a lot better. So that's now my go-to. Yeah. However, Paranoid, I was a little disappointed going back to that. It's a 2012 master. I think with Volume 4, that was the Steven Wilson one.
Right.
And I think he brought out something out of it. I'd love to hear him get to work on Paranoid, but look, if you're going to get the Paranoid box set, to me, you're not going to get anything new in the actual albums. It's the live set that you're buying there.
Exactly. That's what I was after it for, because I heard the same thing about the actual album of Paranoid. And I have the Kevin Gray version that he did for Rhino, and I really, really like that version. And it's so weird because there's a couple different Rhino versions too. So it's kind of hard to like really, and it doesn't say mastered by Kevin Gray, but that one sounds really, really cool. That's kind of my go-to one as well. But yeah, so that was why I probably didn't jump on the Paranoid box set right away.
Yeah. But I am looking forward to Sabotage. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, me too. But I held off on Sabotage because I was waiting for this darn Acoustic Sounds announcement of the Miles Davis Kind of Blue UHQR, and they announced it today. And it took like almost a freaking hour for that confirmation. The website is so slow usually, and today it was just like service unavailable. It was like, dude, it was driving me nuts.
Did you get in there?
I did, man. I finally got that damn confirmation number. I'm just like, yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because it was only $100 for that. I was surprised because UHQRs tend to be many times that.
Oh, yeah. And they're going to make a whole bunch of them too this time, thankfully. So, whatever, the flippers will still be the flippers. But at the same time, it's like, man, it's so nuts nowadays. It's like once something technically sells out online, then you got some dude next day already charging you $300 and it's not even physically out yet,
Right. There's always those opportunists.
Right.
So when's your next trip to the record store? Are the record stores back open in San Diego?
Yeah. They've been open for a little bit, so it's pretty easy going. Just use your hand sanitizer and wear a mask and stuff. But yeah, it's business as usual. Trying to think. My next visit to the record store will probably be in a week. I think I'm going to trade in some stuff and just have a look,
Yeah. Isn't that nice going into a record shop with no idea what you're going to take home?
Totally. Yeah. Very rarely do I unless it's like something that came out that I've been waiting for to come out, but usually I just go in pretty blind and just have fun digging around,
I've got a theory about record collecting, and I'll run it by you here. We have evolved from hunters, right? And there's something in our brain that tells us we have to hunt. Going to a record shop and flipping and being surprised, to me, is a very modern way of satiating that. Because, look, if I want to hear a Love Supreme, I can dial it up on my streaming services immediately. I could be listening to it on YouTube or Apple Music, whatever. I could do that within a moment.
Right.
But actually going to a shop or hitting a garage sale and seeing a box of records and then starting to flip through it and then finding it is so much more delightful than actually hearing what may be. I'd rather find a beat up record out in the wild than listen to a pristine stream.
Yeah.
Super convenient. Yeah. And I think that's it's a way of scratching that hunter itch that we have, in our lizard brain.
Totally. I completely agree, because it's like I'm looking at, I have these two little white record boxes, and they're mostly filled with stuff that I knew, acquisitions, I bought recent months and weeks. And have I gone through them all and listened to them all? No. But does that stop me from going to look for more records? No. Because I like looking, and you're just you like to look and you like to find and kind of just do your thing where you just look through stuff and surprise yourself, hopefully, and it's like the last time I went shopping was probably just last week, and it was I was going to get lunch, and I just went, I'll just drop on by, Record City, whatever it is. And I just came upon a good handful of really cheap, 80s reissued jazz records, really cool Dexter Gordon from the Savoy years, $15, 2 LP. Just, is it original? No, but it's a bunch of stuff I don't know from a time period I don't know. So same with this guy, Booker Irvin, everything around the $10 mark and stuff. So I was just like, wow, $50 later, I came out with a good little stack of records and to kind of just sink my teeth into.
Yeah. You bring it at home to your family like a caveman would bring a dead ocelot, hey.
Yeah. My son, he just turned 4. He's really, he's taken a liking to jazz, because when I take him to preschool in the morning, there's a really good local jazz radio station. So I'll play that. It's either playing that or the Curious George CD. And a lot of times he requests to listen to jazz. So I'm not going to argue with him. So, so I can justify bringing home a couple of jazz records, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like school. It's
Yeah.
Look, I firmly believe that playing good music around the house, even though the kids may not seem like they're paying attention, it sinks in. It
totally does.
My parents,
it does.
Yeah, my kids have not listened, have really give much of a care about records, but they do have really good taste when it comes to music, and I think that's just through osmosis.
Yeah. My oldest daughter, she didn't really show too much interest in music up until the last couple of years. She just turned 15, but the last 2 years, she just all of a sudden just was super into music. She's not a big record record freak like me, but I bought her first, her turntable and just got her a real basic Audio Technica setup, but she loves it, man. So she likes listening to records and she has a little bit of the bug, but she's really into music, which is the most important thing, and I'm really like stoked on that.
All right, Mario, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. I could talk to you about records for hours, days perhaps, but we gotta wrap it up and go. I gotta go make breakfast for my family actually. So look, again, I want to remind folks to pick up a copy of the new Earthless set, Live in the Mojave Desert. You could find it at liveinthemojavedesert.com. Of course, Heavy Psych has a couple of really interesting pressings as well. Mine are in the mail somewhere, so hopefully by the time this airs, I'll be posting some pictures of what that vinyl looks like. And it sounds like there is an yet-to-be-named Earthless album that we will have in our hands sometime in the next 9 to 12 months, hopefully sooner than later. And Mario, we hope you come back on when it's time to announce that and share that good news as well.
Of course, anytime. Thank you, Nate.
All right, there we go. Mario Rubalcaba of the band Earthless. God damn, I love that band. Fantastic. If you ever get the chance to see Earthless live, go do it. They are amazing. And hey, everyone, liveinthemojavedesert.com. Don't forget, we also have secret episodes up at patreon.com/vinyl guide. Go up there, sign up, help support this show, put a few burritos in my stomach, and get all the extras. That's always super duper helpful. And hit subscribe, and we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. In fact, this whole week is littered with episodes. Don't miss one from the Live in the Mojave Desert series. Thanks again, everyone. Chat soon. Cheers.